Keep engaged.
Right?
Right. Loving and
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone back to our board meeting. Board and discussion of Anthem Commercial Center agreement.
Okay. So I'm just gonna, because we're talking about commercial, I just wanna kind of give you a quick overview of where we are with commercial things. So we're gonna go pretty quickly through this, then we'll go to the next one. Or we won't go at all. I'm gonna sit in his chair. Oh, there it goes. I was pushing buttons and it wasn't. Okay, there we go. So real quick, just kind of showing the commercial centers of the city. And I was just gonna run through real quickly and take us up to what's going on in the Anthem commercial. In the Rockwell Landing, these three buildings have been completed. This is where the Stallions are putting their temporary headquarters. This is where their permanent headquarters are gonna be, at this location here. This building hasn't been built, but it'll start construction shortly. So all the other buildings have been filled out. DBAT is right here.
By the way, I asked Gordon to give you a little more broad what's going on commercial-wise, because we do have a lot going on. I don't think people are paying attention enough. There's a lot of brick block coming out of the ground right now.
So I want to tell you, he's right now, this is Kim Reynolds-Bacher. He's getting all this under contract because all of his buildings have filled up. So he is now getting another 3 put in, and we've talked to Ken and Gary Olson to start picking up this property and put in this flex space commercial. The value of this, there is sales tax and the kind of things, but the property tax is 100%. So it's just a better program for this area. So I'm just giving you a heads up that we're just pushing that through down.
They call one
Got a Snickers bar to you there?
Dad, I'm just joking.
You have not seen this yet, but this is the Mountain View corridor. This comes in Academy Parkway. This is the Salt Lake Community College. This is the vision that Deloitte has for this office buildings, retail for this, and they're closing on this, or has already closed to move forward with this. And you're going to start seeing, he's making this kind of a Spanish boulevard, and we'll go through it in more detail. So this is going to be European flavor.
What's that on the end? Other end? Yeah, those on the side. Are those apartments?
No.
They're existing townhomes.
This is part of an existing project. These are existing projects. This is Kim Reynolds-Bach right next to that area. They just have the sports bar, restaurant kind of thing go in. They just picked up their building permit, paid for it, so that's going to start construction. This is already under construction. This is the gas station. It's Holiday.
Yeah.
And so he has a couple more coming in fairly quickly. He's working with the hotel group right now. That's the hotel bar thing. They have the roof that opens up, kind of fancy. The town center, we're going to send you guys to Austin, Texas, to tell us how that's going to shape up. It's going to be gorgeous. But what we want to talk about also is that the Ace Hardware is under construction. Boss is coming back to the city council in 2 weeks to get final approval, and they'll be under construction. We have the KFC, so basically there's only one pad left from the whole thing that's done, so everything else is filled up, either approved or is moving forward right now.
And this take a lot of years to get interest. Everybody's been around. That probably's been sitting making for 20 years.
So you just kind of see what's going to be nice about the Vasa is that usually they go into an old grocery store. This is going to have big bay of windows. It's built specifically for the exercise facility. It's going to be a kind of a nicer deal going.
The only other Vasa around I know of that they've built specifically for them is down in Saratoga.
That's correct.
That's right.
Everybody else, they buy a store and then.
Yep.
So this will look good. I
So
think.
this is going to hit everything they want. Very excited about it.
This shows you where Bullfrog is. They're under construction. We are meeting with the Georgia School District tomorrow to start the CDA on this thing, start getting the funding for the infrastructure we're putting in, and we'll be reporting that back to you in the next couple months as that happens.
If you go up that way, they've got scrapers and
It's moving. Yeah, they're under a pretty tight time frame to get that going. I'm not supposed to say anything, but you're getting an award, and we'll talk about that later. So that's their building, you know, they're putting their corporate office out there as well as the retail, so it's gonna be a nice element for us. Anthem Commercial, this is what we wanna talk about today as well. For today, that's the big picture. So you can kind of see what this looks like. This is our new anchor, and we'll go through this a little bit more in detail.
Why don't you can talk about that northern pads.
I'll go through all the detail,
All right.
the whole 50 acres in just a minute. In detail, because that's what all of our agreements are. And we'll go through this in more detail tonight, a little bit later on. So now I'm going to go to the next slideshow.
Who told you to go so fast? I know they all.
All of us.
Brett wanted more detail. I took the
Because I
vibes.
keep hearing we're not doing much out there. I'm thinking there is a lot going on economic development wise.
So this is what this is what we're talking about. A couple of years ago, we had Walmart. We worked out a deal for them to come in. They brought their full engineering plans. We approved them. We worked with them on a site. They purchased 18 acres of the Anthem Commercial, total of a 50-acre site. And after a period of time, it became determined they abandoned the project. That created a lot of problems for us because of them owning this property. Other property owners didn't want to come in or commit until they knew what was going to be in the area. This configuration only worked for Walmart. It doesn't work for any other grocery stores. So the option the developer had was that they could buy this property back at the end of 2018. So we had to wait to get Walmart to agree to sell this property back to us. In the meantime, the 10 acres over here is basically filled up. There's, I think, one pad left to go in that.
That's right,
JCW's, Les Schwab, liquor store, there's a...
Schwab's coming out of the ground, the safe liquor store's coming out of the ground.
And so this has gone very well, but now
JCW's been just packed.
it was 30% higher in grand opening than any other JC's Burger place in the valley, or any place they've ever done.
That's right.
So they did outstanding. And so as a city and with the developer, we worked very closely on two issues. One, finding a new anchor, and two, getting this in a situation so that we can get this property back from Walmart. So that's the slide that says that. So we started talking to different anchors, and we had the one show up over in the Center Cal. We had another Smith show up in South Jordan, and we found one that was looking to come out in the southwest portion of the valley. And so they had looked and selected some property outside the city, and we're going forward with that. And we talked to them for quite extensively, and there was some timing issues because they wanted to get going, but they couldn't because we didn't have the Walmart piece. There was costs they had sunk, there was higher prices coming here, and a number of issues. So we spent a lot of time coming to the council on various solutions and options. And the reason we're talking about this is in 2 weeks, we're going to be going through all these agreements. So we wanted to go through these tonight, give them to you. We want
Page
to
by
be
page, right?
not page by page. We're going to hand them to you. No, packet by packet. And then you're going to take them home in your leisure.
I'm gonna go through.
John will. So this is the new configuration of what we're going to see. This is going to be the anchor pad. You can see the other pads coming around it. This was the 10 acres that's developed. And we'll talk about the auto mall area and what's planning on this. This is the channel between them.
Do we still have the water element?
That's the water element. I'm going to go right here and we'll talk about that in detail later. So again, this is showing you how this is being marketed. I'll go back just a sec. So this shows the stores that are under construction over here right now, and kind of the big picture of what's going to happen out there. This anchor is absolutely critical for the economic development of this to go forward. So with this particular anchor, the nearest one is Midvale, tons of miles away. And this does bring a regional draw. When we did announce
And
Walmart,
Orem is the closest one south, right? Is that Orem right off the freeway?
yeah. So when we did Walmart, there was still some public, particularly in our city, that was wondering, why didn't we get this particular anchor, why don't we do this? And so this is good, maybe they think we're listening, but it happened circumstance or whatever.
Fortuitously.
Yes, fortuitously we got there, so I don't know that we were.
This has a really big draw, and I was kind of naive thinking how big a draw this would have. But we have a lot of residents leave here to go to Midvale to shop there.
I went in one the other day for the very first time, just out of curiosity. I don't get it.
We're not
It's
marketing to
it's
you.
the price point, it's the
The
price.
numbers,
It's the
I
price.
still don't get it.
And
And
then,
if people like it, if the
It's-
numbers work, numbers are good.
Listen, it's exciting.
Yeah,
Reminds me of a little food for less.
okay, well, either way,
It's exciting.
thank you, I'm gonna go with first comment.
Go with her.
It's great, it's exciting.
everyone, you just
I
check
never
it
knew
out.
one of the female and the fur coat.
They can't bring Coach Bush.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is we go through this, we're gonna be fairly respectful, because again, they want to have the big announcement after we've approved the documents. They're gonna be coming to us, to the planning commission for the subdivision. You just saw the plat, we've done all the reviews, they've brought all the elevations, the landscape, so everything's ready. The plats have been reviewed, so by the building department, planning department. So early in March, they will be getting all their final approvals. That's when they want it out there publicly. They didn't want to have to answer a lot of questions at this point. So that's why, however, in the name of transparency, but being respectful, we're going to make sure that you are clear and the public that wants to know about this is clear too. So as you go forward, this is all clear. So having said that, we're done with this PowerPoint.
Seems very clear. Go on, John.
Crystal.
Now, John's going to explain these agreements to you.
I'll ask.
Oh, go ahead, no,
I'll
ask.
my question.
Go ahead.
There's a big blank spot on that map.
That's 16 acres on the side. And we'll talk about that in just a short period of
In
time.
the closed meeting.
Oh.
All right, so here's the clicker, and here's this. I don't know. So I'm gonna hand out
There's a
documents.
pointer on that one too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is,
That one's not right.
Can,
okay,
and maybe this isn't the right time to ask.
go ahead and ask.
Timeline, I mean, we're talking approvals and announcement, but what's actual?
So what they're
Anticipated
looking
build
at is
timeline.
starting construction this
I got
summer.
some times in there.
Okay.
They're looking at construction this summer and being open in March.
Cause that was part of what we said we
That
would
will be-
agree to
those
some
are-
of this if they.
Hold on.
That'll be in the agreements, but they're looking at even accelerating beyond what the agreements say. So they're right now looking to open in spring next year.
Okay, first document is an impact fee waiver. So this waiver that we're gonna hand out here replaces the Anthem waiver. If you remember, in Anthem, we waived the water impact fee and the roadway impact fee for all commercial development in this center except Walmart.
Oh.
So it's kind of a backwards thing. So this one, we are waiving roadway impact fees for an 82,500 square foot grocery store. The waiver amounts to about $400,000. The waiver is conditioned on them obtaining a building permit on or before October 31, 2020. I think they'll get that building permit long before that.
Say that was a lot farther out than what we had talked about. A year.
Well, you're gonna see some other dates show up here in just a minute. Keep looking.
So what you're saying is we should let you get to the presentation.
No, just keep watching. I understand where everything's going on.
Okay, so this waiver is based upon a broad public purpose. And the state statute requires that if we waive an impact fee on a broad public purpose, we gotta find some money to fund the money that we waived. So how do we do that? Well, since it's based upon it, in this waiver, you request financial assistance from the agency. In fact, reimburse the waive impact fee agency. So you will see this waiver on council agenda. Okay, now let's talk about replacing the waive impact fees. So this is an interlocal between the agency and the city, agreement number 2. In it, the agency agrees to pay the city the amount of the, I'm just gonna call them anchor tenant waived impact fees.
Thank you.
That's Jackie.
So, what is the source of this money that the agency gets? The payment for the reimbursement will be made from property tax TIF generated from the project area. So this is from the taxing agencies, which is the city, school district, UFA, others, and we already have those agreements in place. And we've already triggered them, and we should see funds flowing from this year, from that TIF. The term of that agreement is for 25 years, so we'll make darn sure we get paid back. You will see this agreement twice, once on the council agenda and once on the agency agenda. Okay, let's talk about the anchor agreement. What are we giving them to come here? So you saw the waiver of the impact fee,
But it's getting reimbursed through the TIF.
but it's getting reimbursed through the TIF. So the agency agrees to pay the anchor sales tax rebate in the amount not to exceed $500,000 or an annual amount not to exceed $200,000 for any one given year. So,
Is that different than what was in our packet?
nope, that's in your packet.
That was at 100,000 a year in the packet.
I don't think so. In the this,
No, in the packet that we were
It
sent.
may have been different there, but he's telling you the truth.
Okay.
there's been, these things are, as of
It's fluid.
today,
It's
we were
fluid.
Well, I'm
finishing
just asking because it
negotiations.
was different than what I previously saw.
If in fact Jackie sent out the drafts I gave her earlier, yes.
It's a living document, still moving.
So if you think about it, the anchor tenant's getting $400,000 from waived impact fees and $500,000. So they're basically, it costs $900,000 to get them here. That was the stealing price. That's what it required.
What's the timeline on?
Funny you should ask.
Okay, thank you.
Let me tell you what the source of it is first. That the source for this tax rebate is the point of sale generated from Winco. So it's an incentive for them
So,
to get sales tax.
Yeah.
Oh, and the timing. The payments begin 1 year after the city issues a certificate of occupancy for the anchor tenant and ends the earlier of 5 years from the first payment or October 31, 2026. So we put them in this window. This is just, the negotiation is what they agreed to. And you get this time period to do it. If not, you lose it. Get selling.
If you build it, you go.
if they, I mean, so the absolute end date would be October 31, 2026, but if they get certificate of occupancy sooner,
Then it's 5 years.
and it starts from 5 years at that point. Okay.
Right. That's actually 1 year after the certificate of occupancy.
So
Right,
back to
right.
your comment, they're gonna lose if they wait so there's gonna be 2 or 3 catches you're gonna see coming in here. So just watch those.
If they wait for their building permit,
Till that time, they would.
they're gonna have a little bit of a cost getting all their money back.
Okay.
Unless they make a lot of money.
Once they make a lot of money, then hallelujah. We made a great steal. The payments will be made monthly. Alan has a system of knowing what their sales tax will be and he'll pay it monthly.
actually collected our share.
What's that?
We've actually collected.
Yeah, these are all based on actual money received. So you will see this agreement on the agency agenda. Now you say, but the agency doesn't have any sales tax to give. So how do we get them sales tax? Well, we need an interlocal between the agency and the city. And to keep track of these, I've put parentheses, this is the anchor. And you'll see why I get there. This gets confusing, it's confusing. So, the interlocal. The city agrees to pay the agency point of sale generated from the anchor tenant. That's the point of sale, the point, basically 0.5%. The payment begins 1 year after the city issues a certificate and ends the earlier of 5 years or October 31. It mirrors. The amount is limited to the sales tax due and owing WINCO pursuant to the you don't care if I say
To the tenant agreement?
The anchor tenant, not to exceed a cumulative of 500,000 or 200,000. That 200,000 is in there for their cash flow purposes. So you will see this agreement twice. Once on the council agenda and once on the agency agenda. So this then gets the sales tax to the agency, then the agency can enter into this participation agreement with the anchor tenant. Okay, now the most complicated of the agreements. The developer, Anthem. So they did have an agreement with us with the understanding that there'd be a Walmart in there. So it had to be redone with the new anchor tenant, so it's a restated agreement. So it replaces and restates the agreement that we had with the underlying anchor being Walmart. All right, there's two buckets of money that we're talking about here. One is property tax TIF, and the other is point of sale sales tax. So let's talk first about the property tax TIF. So beginning with the year that the agency begins to pay sales tax increment, which we'll talk about in a minute, to the anchor tenant, this agency gets to retain $250,000 off the top from that property tax bucket, not to exceed $50,000 a year. And the reason is to replace some money that we gave away somewhere else. The balance or the remainder is then split as follows. 73 1/3% goes to Anthem, not to exceed the lesser of reimbursable costs. So these are costs of stuff they really put in the ground, or $11,660,300. That's what they figure they are actually putting in the ground and want reimbursement for, but it comes out of that 73%. That agreement expires 2034. The other 26 2/3 is retained by the agency. So this obligation expires 2034. That's basically the property tax bucket. Now let's talk about the other bucket, which is the sales tax increment. So if WINCO is substantially completed by November 30th, 2020, and subject to satisfying the obligation, now we're talking Anthem here, so we have WINCO, the anchor gets their money first, their $200 every year, not to exceed $500, well that's in the parentheses. Then the agency will pay Anthem Center point of sale sales tax generated from the WINCO in the amount of $400,000, not to exceed $200 per year. And that's not all they get. Let's see what else they get. In addition, the agency will pay Anthem Center point of sales tax increment generated from the center, excluding the Walmart. So this will be the liquor store, the tire store, JCWs, and whatever else goes in there. How much? It will be equal to 75% of the water impact fee and the road impact fee actually collected from the center, excluding the impact fees waived for the anchor tenant for retail improvements for a window starting August 1, 2018. So they're already going to get JCWs and other through July 31, 2023. Okay, if your head's swimming, you should have had to write this.
How much has, if anything, I guess, other than maybe dates, has changed in the restated agreement, especially based on some of the, the numbers that we're talking on TIF and things?
Pretty close to a lot of the same stuff.
Okay.
The same benefit. but it's different now, instead of, Walmart kept their impact fees and we waived the rest, but it's pretty close. It's not a lot of extra money.
So the biggest difference and the thing that became most complicated was this issue. When we were working with the Anthem Commercial Center, in order to, as an incentive to get them to hurry and get tenants in there, we said, we will waive your impact fees for anything but Walmart for a certain period of time. Because they didn't get that done, we came back and said, okay, look, we're only gonna do 75%. Well, because of legal stuff, we can't do a 75%
We
waive.
can't give them impact fees because they're not entitled to it.
So what we're doing is,
Yeah, that's.
so what we did is we collected 100% of the impact fees, and we get it. Then from the sales tax that they generate, we'll give them back 75%. So the key thing I want everybody to pay attention to is all the money that the city's doing generates on the site, whether it's the tip or the sales tax. None of it comes from anywhere else in the city. Everything is just balanced in there.
It's beholden to itself.
At the end of the day, the TIF looks to generate the city $11 million. And that's after it pays back the 400,000 waived transportation impact fee, so that comes back to the city through the TIF. The city waives that 75% of those impact fees, that comes back to the TIF through the city. And then the city is doing the sales tax, but then that's all reimbursed. So at the end of the day, the city is out with zero property tax, zero impact fees, and it's all paid back from the TIF, and we end up with actual plus dollars in the TIF.
Black.
So
It's not
at this
red.
point, the city will lose $0 other than the timing of when we receive those.
It's all timing.
So it's all timing through the process.
But part of that timing is incentive on their part to perform.
So
To get moving.
So there's days, there's clicks that they have to get things done. If they don't, they start losing the ability to get those things. Now, the reason we're doing this is we just lost 2 years of Walmart sales tax and the property tax associated with it, plus all the tenant stuff that would have gone on that 40 acres.
Yep.
What we don't want to do is lose another 2 years of tenants and other stuff that's going on in the site. So that's what's driving
And another
this.
grocer has developed within that time period, that is outside of our borders.
Yes.
Yes.
And so,
Additional
exactly what happened,
competition.
yes.
so our biggest concern is there was not a lot of anchor grocers out there. And this one had paid down on another property that it would have been another 2 or 3 years to find the next tenant to come out here. And so we felt that it was important enough to bring to you to make this thing start clicking in right now. We've invested a lot of money in a road. We've invested a lot of money to get this thing going. It's important that we get it going.
It's very important because, as Nurse City lost them, we gained them.
Well, and, I mean, for
And they-
me, it's an absolute tremendous win for a number of reasons. I mean, the revenue alone is a win. And then more importantly, I'm actually, my jokingly, where did Jared go? Jokingly to him. But my point being, I'm actually more pleased with this grocer anchor than I would be with almost any other, because it is a destination grocer, and you just don't find those very often. Grocery stores plunk around in all of the communities, and there's nothing usually unique about a grocery store. This one is different than that because there are so few and they choose their locations carefully. And because of the price point or the business model of this particular grocery store, you're going to find it hugely successful in this area. This will be where people want to shop because it is less expensive than certainly the competitor that I just named in our competing cities. So it helps us compete.
Not to mention, this is the only time that I've seen our residents write a letter, this is the only company I've ever seen our residents write a letter campaign to the company to try to convince them to come here. And that was years ago, and they still want them out here, so.
It's good. It's exciting.
So anyway, I'll let John continue.
Okay, so you will see this agreement on the agency agenda. Now, there's no sales tax in the agency to fund this, so we have to have an interlocal between the city and the agency for the non-anchor. That's the only way I could keep track of this in my mind as I was writing this stuff. I had to keep saying, now, who we talking about here? So the city agrees to pay the agency point of sale tax generated from the anchor. The payments begin the same time period that we owe it. The amount is limited to the amount that's owed, not to exceed 400,000, 200,000 in any given year. The agency agrees to pay Anthem point of sale, so this is to replace that waived impact fee, an amount not to exceed 75% of the water impact fee and roadway impact fee actually collected, excluding the impact fee waiver for the anchor for that window, August 1, 2018 to July 31, 2023. You will see this agreement twice. Once on the council agenda and once on the agency agenda. And you'll see I'll put parameter around it. This is non-anchor, so you keep track of it, or the other one is
This
the
is too
anchor.
complicated to talk to you about in one meeting.
Yes.
So we're gonna talk about it now, and then John's going to do this whole presentation again in 2 weeks with more color. So
And if you wanna read it, you call me and say, what is this thing?
and we can send it to you electronically as well.
Please.
color on it.
Yeah. So I wanted to say a couple things that are really critical to this. We don't know what the state legislature is gonna do about point of sale sales tax. This document says the refund come from point of sale sales tax.
Whatever we get.
That is. So it's not a percent, it's not an amount, it's the point of sale of this.
That's
local.
hilarious because
I know,
a particular developer is pushing that.
I know, I'm not here to beat anybody up, but I'm saying from us as a city, it protects us, I believe. Whether it goes up or down, I don't know what it will do, but it's,
We're not on
and it's limited in time and scope, so it can't go forever, and it can't overpay. It has to be for specific, detailed performances. So what I want you to do is look at these documents, let us know if you want them electronically, we will fire them out to you electronically.
Yes, please.
Oh, you didn't love this paper?
I
Oh.
greatly
I'm just not gonna
appreciate
carry
the paper, thank you.
I'm not gonna carry all the paper with me.
What about the trees?
The trees.
After you have a write on it, I've already taken a whole bunch of notes.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
so
I wanted,
as
I
you'll
told
see,
John to do
there's
this.
always a limit.
No, thank you.
There's always a limit. We only have to pay out money if we really get it.
So,
I'm trying to protect
And it's
ourselves.
money we wouldn't get but for the development.
that's
That's
correct.
the most
If we
important
don't do
thing
this, we
too.
don't get anything, you know, we're not,
And we're not out any.
So I'm just
At
putting
the
you
end of
back,
the day, we're made very,
you know, a year ago, when we knew for certain that Walmart abandoned the project, we needed to find something to make this a great center, a great location. And so the developer's been eager, they've been helpful, critical, they made it really good. And we've worked really hard to make it good from our standpoint, but then again, protect the rest of the city, so it doesn't affect any of our proposed budget or anything else going on out there. And in 5 years, when everything clears up on this thing, we don't, even if we're now collecting 100% of everything within a 5-year period. Nobody gets anything but what we get of us. Do you want this?
And that's it. We thought we would give this to you twice, so once you can hear it, think about it.
I wanna
and then
see if
we
you
can-
can Jared. And then
Okay?
Jackie.
so we're ready to change gears.
And you're
which is why I was missing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I could have done a one-headed
That
stamp,
was
but mine was much bigger.
But it was my left.
We need one
It
to.
was impressive, I have to say. And you were like typing, I don't even know if you looked, I feel like
I
you didn't
will
even.
right?
happily accept a
Always
motion
good
to
Sure,
go,
show me it.
to temporarily leave our work meeting, go into closed session.
So move, what? You
Litigation and
need to
real
read it?
Somebody needs to read
Clint's
it.
ready.
I will motion to temporarily recess the city council meeting to convene in a closed session for the purpose to discuss pending or reasonable imminent litigation and the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property as provided by Utah Code annotated 52-4-205.
for 10 minutes.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second, Nicole.
Within my addendum, yay.
No, in a second, just sure.
No one in second year.
Oh,
did this.
second.
Oh, she already did, so we're not voting on it, so it doesn't count.
Alright, what do you need from me?
I just need an
Aye.
aye.
Yes.
Sherry?
Yeah.
I vote yes. Thank you, we are into closed session, I don't know who needs to stay.
Find to stay or find to go?
Go, go.
Did you let us come?
Jackie, I gotta, that was, it's like a cheetah, really. But she wasn't even looking,
Right, I know.
about 10.
I was like a domestic
Well,
cat,
and
and
did
she
you
was
see-
like a cheetah.
Did you see?